Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MindKite Inspired by You podcast. And as always, I bring you the most wonderful, inspirational guests. And I've got two for you tonight. I've got two greats. Not only have I got inspirational, motivational guests, but I've got guests that actually care about the people they mean to serve. And I always give big introductions, but I think on this episode, these guests, I want them to speak for themselves. So I'm going to introduce the wonderful JB Owen. JB, could you tell the people who you are and what you do, please?
Thank you, Jamie. So great to be here. And thank you for having me. Delighted to share. You know, they call me the inspirational possibility queen because I love making things possible for people. I'm a 17-time international bestselling author. I have a publishing house called Ignite. And what I do is I help people transform their lives by telling their amazing stories and making something possible in their lives. So I'm super happy to be here. I can't wait to share with your guests all the fun things that I love to do around storytelling.
And people, that's why I have to have them introduce themselves. And next up, we have the very, very wonderful Dee Baer.
Hello, Jamie. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm Dr. Dee Baer, health coach and holistic nutritionist of 42 years. This is what I know. Health is not something you do. It's who you are along life's journey. And for the last 42 years, I've been allowed and privileged to bring 1 million pounds of toxic fat loss to my client base. Also, 1,200 clients, corporate clients that have wellness, because hunger is the best seasoning. We're going to get into that in a minute, but also 2,000 people in this COVID era that have had great and optimal health, because that's what you need to do along life's journey. Thank you, Jamie.
And just when you're touching on COVID there, we came through such a difficult time, and what you've actually achieved and what you've actually been doing is fantastic. So on behalf, and I'm sure I can speak for the whole of my audience, thank you very much for what you've done.
You're very welcome.
Let's go back to that seasoning, that hunger seasoning there. You said you're going to come back to. I want to go right in with that because that sounds juicy.
So which hunger seasoning do you want? Hunger is the best seasoning. JB and I came together because of the one, the only, the legendary Les Brown. Les Brown, the greatest of all time. Absolutely. What an honor to be able to be in his compilation book, JB's soon to be New York Times bestseller. This is what we're going to do for Mr. Les Brown. Ignite the hunger in you, because when you're hungry, you're going to work for it. When you're hungry, you're going to work in all 6 pillars of your life: spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, social, and then the financial hunger will take care of itself.
Well said. Absolutely well said. So you showed me this book. We spoke about Les Brown, and I don't even know where to start with this. So JB, I would like to direct this to you. You're a publishing powerhouse. You're an international best-selling author multiple times, and you're the workings behind this book. Tell me something about this, because I believe there's 35 other authors in this book as well.
Yeah, there are 35 other people.
That even come together?
Well, you know, I believe that we all have these ignite moments, and Les Brown, obviously, he's one of those people that creates those ignite moments. Now, what is an ignite moment? It's something that happens to you that really transforms you and changes your life. Les Brown has spoken and talked. He's, you know, the top motivational speaker in the world, 50 years in the business. So many people have heard his message, seen him on YouTube, been to one of his events. And something he said happened at a real pivotal time in their life that really propelled them forward in a different direction. Now, 35 authors have come together to tell their stories, their ignite moments around something that magically happened. And it was really inspired by Les Brown and something he said or a quote of his. And so these stories are really, really powerful, because some of them, it was the moment they had a gun in their mouth. It was the moment they lost a child. It was the moment where they were living homeless. And they really heard Les Brown speak to them so directly, and speaking to us all, he spoke to them. And they felt compelled to tell their story. And the reason their story is so profound is because so many of us have found ourselves potentially in similar situations. and something pulled us forward. And so I felt so compelled as a publisher to bring those stories together and bring all these authors together to make this book. Of course, Les loved the idea. He had an ignite moment while we were writing the book of finding his family and finding his birth parents. So it's just all serendipitous and powerful. And of course, the stories are meant to inspire others.
Absolutely amazing. So, Jodie, you're in this book, I presume. You've got it on your background. You're promoting this hard here. So you're in this book. What did you write about in this book? And why was it important for you to get this part of your story out?
Jamie, I'll tell you something. I didn't know that this story was inside of me. I had to work hard, as many of the authors have done, to get into that ignite moment. After 67 years, I had this, and this, and this, and so many things that came to mind. And then working with JB Owen, with these amazing editors, heart-centered publishers, they brought this into me, and then they brought it out of me. This title of my chapter is From Tummy Ache to Transcendent Health. Now, remember, I'm a health coach, but my earliest childhood memory was of this absolute excruciating tummy ache. I was 3.5 years old. I did not know, Jamie, that this physical tummy ache was an emotional response because of my dad's sudden death. He was only 42 years old. He wasn't supposed to die. My mother gave me hope. She gave me this little hot water bottle and said, Jodie, go to bed. It'll be okay. But you see, this carried on through my career. I was able to then help others, knowing that there's a mind-body, MindKite, mind-body connection. Now, fast forward, this same widow woman at 36 ill could afford, because she knew little Jodie could sing. Jamie, I could sing, and sing I did. And she said, I have to invest. So she invested herself, her time, her expertise in me. I became a professional musician. I've sung with the London Symphony. Okay, you know that one.
Yeah, I know that.
The opera houses of North America, in Europe, studied with the Vienna Opera House. But one day, my ignite moment was this. I was going to a solo performance of Handel's Messiah. I was going to be doing this singing with the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra, broadsided. The next moment, I woke up in a surgical halo, paralyzed from the shoulders on down, unable to move. What was I going to do? And my mother leaned into me and said, Jodie, the doctors only see what they see. They don't know who you are. And Jamie, 6 months later, I walked out of that hospital, and I have been peak performing ever since, all the way to being 2 years ago, a nationally ranked triathlete in the Olympic distance triathlete version in North America.
Wow, it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And I think you said something there, and I think it's the whole purpose of the book, and it's igniting those stories, and something ignited in you along the way with, JB's direction. And just, JB, I'd like to touch on that, because it's a powerful name for a start. Ignite the hunger in you. Even ignite as a whole, it just sparks that fire inside you. And how do you find dealing with, 35 other authors and bringing those stories out? Because it has to have an impact.
Well, thank you for asking. It's true. This is the 17th book we've done in just under 2 years. It seemed like COVID actually really was a great catalyst for a lot of people really needing to tell their stories. And Jodie's story is beautiful and sensational in the sense that in writing her story, she was able to look back and assign a new meaning to something that happened to her when she was 3 years old. And so we like to call ourselves a transformational haven a little bit more than a publishing house, because we don't just take words, put them on a page, put them in a book and put it on the shelf. We actually really walk authors through this incredible assigning of a meaning to something that happened in their life. And for many of them, it was a very difficult time. Some people have been through bankruptcy, through assault, through, losing a loved one. And what happens is that story becomes their story in their life. And often it holds them up or keeps them back, or just puts them in a position where they don't feel like they can create what's possible for them or get hungry for their greatness, as Les Brown likes to say. And so when we help an author write a story and assign a new meaning to something that happened to them that they can look back upon now with new information, and then shift that story into something that will help others, really inspire others, because there are people potentially who are in a halo in a hospital room, not knowing if they'll ever walk again, who can read Jodi's story and be like, if she can do it, I can do it. And of the 700 stories that we've written, there are so many of us who can relate to each other's story. If they can do it, I can do it. And so it is a lot of work bringing 35 people together to be in a book. But the truth is, it becomes a family. It becomes a camaraderie. We have an incredible community, and we help each other along the way. And so it's really a powerful experience. It's not just putting some words on a page and writing them. It really is transformational. Of course, to partner up with someone like Les Brown to be in a book that then Les helps and shares with the authors ways that they can speak. And we do author training and authorpreneur training and marketing and all those things. Now you've got something that can really make an impact on a person's life in a multiple different ways, not just a book, but a training and a teaching and a speaking. And so we like to look, as Jodi talks about in health, the holistic client, the holistic business owner, and the holistic part around owning a book or being in a book that's really going to help catapult your brand.
And Mr. Les Brown is one person that knows how to tell a story.
Absolutely,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. You know, for me, he's the best at it. He's the best at it. So you lay these stories down. You use the word, JB, transformational. And Jodi, you told a very powerful, rendition of your story that's going to be in the book. And I look forward to reading that. But more than just for yourself finding and igniting the story, and more just for yourself being transformed, what do you feel the readers are going to get from these impactful stories? Because you've seen them all now. So what is the reader actually going to get from these stories, and how is that going to affect them? I'd like to both of you to answer that.
Well, thank you. For Ignite, we really want to ignite 1 billion lives with 1 billion words, because we know now more than ever people need to be brought together. COVID has had this common denominator for us all, but I'd like to shift that in the sense that we all have a story within us. We all have a story that deserves to be told, and we all have the need to be heard and to belong. And so these stories really create a new vernacular between all of us, where the stories that I've read as a reader, if they can do it, I can do it. If she can get there, I can get there. If he can do that, I can do that. And so it really is pulling the reader forward in a lot of ways. More importantly, it's really breaking down the barriers of people who write books are untouchable, or they're lucky, or they've made it. And if, it's there, they get to be out there and not me. And our stories are really told by people of all ilk. We have multimillionaires in our books, 160 million are one of our authors is making. We have award-winning actors who have been in our books, and we have people that are just like you and me, everyday people. But the story, just regardless of what color your skin is, what gender you are, where you live, what country you're from, what accent you have, none of that matters, because it's all about the human experience. And I think that's what really, really brings us together. So the reader feels like they're a part of something. They're a part of this very intimate experience with the writer, and they get to know them on a very personal level, not the flashy, this is what I want you to see level. And so the reader feels so much more connected to the writer, and the writer does it with showing up really authentically and honestly. And I think that is the way that business should be done. I think that's the way humanity needs to move forward, really in this level of authenticity.
Wow.
And authentic JB Owen is. She is one of the most authentic women I've ever known in my life, Jamie. And it's those people, I'm sure you would agree, Jamie, you've heard Mr. Les Brown say, today in this COVID era, we need a community of collaborative, achievement-driven relationships. This is what JB has brought us, and she is tireless. She gives more than she gets. And when you can be that kind of a giver, you can give to the community. These 35 authors, now I feel like they're my family. They're an extension of family. We, as being a health coach, what did we do for Women's Health Month? Women's Sense. What did we just do for Men's Health Month? Men's Health. Real men are aware. Why did this all come up? It was just an adjunct from this. And I want to come back to Mr. Les Brown, the common denominator, because I had an Ignite moment with him. Now, I have been coaching with him, JB, at least for 5 months. And we got on one of those Friday calls, and he said, tummy ache. Right now in COVID, we've gone from a tummy ache to a bellyache. What do we have? Jody Baer, don't miss this. And audience, don't miss this, because this is one to remember. What have we had? We've had a rise in obesity. We've had a rise in divorce, in domestic abuse, in suicide, you name it, drug, alcohol abuse. And what this book gives everyone is hope. Because when we can have hope, we can battle anything. Now, can't we, Jamie?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're right. So Les Brown is the common denominator here. And it wouldn't be right if we skimmed over that so lightly. So let's speak a little bit about Mr. Les Brown. A mentor of mine, a mentor of us all, and a mentor to many that he doesn't even know he's touched. He's a very important man in this planet. And JB, you talked about humanity and what we need to do to move forward and get through this time. Jody, you've talked about the current situation with COVID and how we've been through that, and Mr. Les Brown's views on that. He talks about the biggest pandemic actually being mental health coming through this. How do you think the book's going to help people get through this, like actually get through this? And not speaking as an author, but speaking as a reader.
Yeah, a great question, because there are so many books out there on the market. I mean, there's a litany of books. I like to say, books are becoming the new best friend, because when we're all at home and we can't go out and we can't do as much socializing, books are really becoming the new best friend. But for the reader, yes, I would share with you that if you are in a situation in your life, if you are sitting on the couch, if you're not sure what you need to do next, if that voice inside of you is like, it's not possible, or I can't do it, or I'm not enough, or I didn't grow up in the right place, or I didn't have enough money, or I'm not pretty enough, or skinny enough, or smart enough, that is something that is riddled within us all. It plagues our society. And for those people who are like, I know that there's more for me. I know that I'm capable of more, that I want to do more. And I want to ignite that hunger in me to say, like, I don't need to say yes to the life I've been living. I don't need to be okay with the way it is right now. I want to move forward. I want to transform. I want to expand my knowledge. And I really want to know that it's possible. I think this is the book that really does it. It shows people it's possible. It shows people that you can be one moment before pulling the trigger, and the next moment you can be one of the leading speakers, 8 kids, multimillionaire, massive things can happen. But at one moment in your life, you didn't know if you could go on. And I think that is something that all of us need to hear. And Jody said it beautifully. Hope is that thing where we know it's possible. It's not that we just think it's possible, we know it's possible. And I think as a reader, this is what the book is doing now. There's lots of different folds around this book. Every single one of the authors have benefited in so many ways, because it just helps make them step up and be more leaders. And when each one of us lead, we lead others. When we lead by example, we show people it's possible. And then the third layer, and I like to say that everything is a triple win. All the proceeds of the book are going towards building Ignite Possibilities School of Hope in Cambodia. So we as a community and we as a company are very, very much committed to giving back and igniting humanity. And what better way to do that than with young children who need to know it's possible for them, to need to know that their greatness and their magnificence, as Les says, is available to them. And so around literacy and helping children, we're really committed to the school. So we want the readers to benefit. We want the writers to benefit. We obviously want humanity to benefit. And now we're going one level more with helping kids in schools. So that's really the well-roundedness of this product. And millions of people will read the story. We don't even know who the lives will touch, but we all have a book in our hearts that we read somewhere, and it moved us and inspired us. And so we believe that this book will inspire people in the same way.
And that's a beautiful thing. And I can feel Les Brown all over this, just with the conversations we're having here. So Jody, tell me, what is and how has Les Brown impacted your life, and how has that molded what you've been able to write in this book? Because I know Les would have had a big impression on this.
Well, and Jamie, I want to back up just one step here, because JB Owen told an amazing story talking about how this affects that somebody bought this book. It's The Power of One. And where did it go? It's going to be given to somebody. I don't remember exactly who, JB, but somebody, whether it was a son, some kind of a relative, that's right now they're incarcerated. Think about being able to share that. If it's just one life, if it's just one person, thinking about how this book is being taken by these 35 authors. There's one author that was pretty shy at the very beginning. He's broken through barriers. He's broken through walls. We're out going to be doing, he just did a book signing with his book, with the banner, this, that, and the other. You think about this trickle out effect, one book to one incarcerated young man or woman, that it will change how many lives. I can only say, to answer your question, and so bravo to you, JB. I want to come back to that for sure. But here's little Jody. Weight loss and weight management as a health coach has always been one of my pillars that I do. I was speaking in front of a group at a convention. Little did I know, I was the opening act before the Les Brown came out. Now, I'm not a very big person, and this was before 9/11. So they didn't have security backstage. I spoke and I saw him and I was like transfixed. So I went and scooted behind the speakers. I said, I'm not going to miss a word. I'm not leaving. And I went out to him. This was 1998. And I said, Mr. Brown, I want to shake your hand. I am going to be working with you one day. How did I even know? You speak it, MindKite, and then that kite flies with the wind. You speak it into existence. Fast forward, here I'm on Clubhouse. I'm doing something for Women's Health Month. That's what I do. Who came in the room? Les Brown. My coach was there. Absolutely speaking and facilitating is, Jody, you need to work with him. And I've been there ever since. How did I know? And what he does, as I would say, for all of us here and everybody that knows him, up in here, he just gets into your DNA and it doesn't go away. And that's what I am so grateful for the man. He spoke at our live event that was on KP Media TV Saturday. And I said to him, Les Brown, I love you with my whole heart. And he said, you're the reason why I do this. He texted me back. See, he's a humble servant. That little boy from Liberty City, Florida, just never forgot where he came from, no matter how big he is. And that's the Les Brown difference.
Wow. That's touching. And yeah, I knew it was going to have an impact, and I'm still processing that. It's an absolutely beautiful thing, even having Mr. Les Brown involved in this book and our lives, as a whole. And JB, you've been working really close with Les on this book. He's obviously a big part of this, and he's part of the coaching program for the authors and things like that. How has that experience impacted you, and how will that impact you moving forward now in your business?
Actually, I have two things to share about that. So I want to share with your audience, like, you always got to be ready. You got to be ready for those moments. Like when you're in business and you've got a brand and you've got something that's on your mind, on your vision board, you've been focusing on it. It's your Q3, expectations. You got to be ready. Cause I got a phone call one day and I looked at my phone and it was an unlisted number and I thought it was a solicitor. So I picked up the phone. I'm like, hello. And is this JBO? And I'm like, yes, who's calling? And I was really sassy. And they're like, can you hold the phone for Mr. Les Brown? And I was like, oh, yes, of course. And my whole demeanor had to change immediately. Les gets on the phone and he says, JB, it's Les Brown, I've been reading over your proposal. I love your idea. We got to do this book. Let's do this book. I said, okay. So we talked about for 10 more minutes and we had such a great conversation and I was ready. And that's the point I want to make to your viewers is I was ready. I'd done my homework. I'd done my proposal. I'd done everything. I'd put in the time. I'd put in the work. The Ignite was successful. Things were going. So when he called, I was ready to say yes. And our conversation went so well. He's like, I'm going live on Facebook in 10 minutes. Do you want to be interviewed? I'm like, yes, let's do it. So his assistant came on the phone. They're like, okay, we'll stream you in. We'll get it going on. But don't say anything about the book because none of the paperwork has been written. The contract hasn't been signed. It's not for sure. Don't say anything about the book. I'm like, okay, no problem. I get on Facebook. They get me live. We go live and Les goes, I'm Les Brown and I'm here with JB Owen and we're doing a book together in front of everyone on Facebook Live immediately. So again, my point to your viewers are, Be ready for those magical moments. Be ready with your business, with your confidence, with your knowingness, with your belief system that anything is possible and it will happen. The phone call will come, and 10 minutes later, you will be on with 1.8 million people saying you're doing a book with Les Brown. So be ready for that. And the second part I want to share is during this book process, Les Brown had his own Ignite moment because his eldest son found his birth parents. And so he phoned me the very day, like hours after he had talked to his brother that he didn't know existed. And he called me very emotional. I just found my parents. I just found out who my parents are. I just talked to my brother I didn't know I even had. And he was in tears. He was so emotional. And I said, Les, you just had an Ignite moment, 76 years old. You didn't know who your birth parents were. This is an Ignite moment, and it's no coincidence that it happened during this book, during this process, because now you get to tell this story. And he said the other day on Clubhouse how his narrative has changed completely now that he has found his parents. And at 77 years old, it never stops changing. Life never gives up on you. Only you give up on life. And so it's really, really beautiful to know that no matter what, no matter how you perceive anyone or even perceive yourself, the world shows up in unique and dynamic ways to awaken you to exactly what it is you want. And that's why Ignite is also such a powerful word for me, is because we have these Ignite moments all the time, but so often we pass them by, like not answering the phone or just not saying yes when an opportunity shows up, or not writing your story when your publisher says you've got a great story, or not showing up on a podcast, or not telling the truth or being authentic. There's so many times where we hold back because we're just a little bit fearful. And to answer your question one more time, I think what people will get from this book and from all the authors who wrote in it, and from Les telling his vulnerable story, and myself also telling a very vulnerable story about being assaulted and being in an abusive relationship, is that it doesn't matter what people think you are or think you have or think you've done. We all have this common denominator, and you can tell I'm on my soapbox because this is what brings us together. This is that human moment, this Ignite moment where it's possible for all of us. And I think that alone, in the $30 it costs you to get this book, if just one idea and one story propels you forward, it was so worth it. And then pass that book on to someone else and let them be inspired, because you just need one spark to ignite your life forward.
And that becomes priceless in that moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So even for the $30 for the book, it becomes priceless having that one moment. It's fantastic. We talked about Mr. Les Brown being emotional there, and I want to touch on, you spoke about Ignite, and Ignite being, it's powerful, right? And I believe that being vulnerable is a crazy superpower. Yeah. Not enough of us be openly vulnerable because we see it as a sign of weakness. I just wanted to get, even from yourself, Jodie, a view on being vulnerable and being openly vulnerable and what you think about that.
Well, I said on our live event, Real Men Are Aware, women have an emotion a minute. We go up and down and up. We're higher than a kite, lower than a skunk. And that's fine. That's who we are. Men have an emotion a month. But men have to keep that emotion there. And it's really okay. But you are our heroes, men. You are our warriors. And you are absolutely, as Tina Turner said, simply the best. So if you know that it is that emotion, one of our doctors that spoke said, be in touch with that feeling. And he used it singularly. We didn't even know that. Get in touch with that feeling, because you never know. It's like your word, you said, be ready. Be ready to be in touch with this, because when you can go in positivity and feel that emotion, then you can be and live the law of attraction. And Mr. MindKite, mindset, extraordinary man, everything happens. Be ready. Get the download of the book. Be ready to do this. Who knew 2 degrees of separation? I don't even think it's 3 anymore. I saw that you commented on our event on Saturday. You asked me who the speakers were. I DM'd you, and here we are. JB, you were absolutely right. It can happen that quickly. And I want to just say, be ready, because, okay, the authors are great. The book is wonderful. But we are launching our book December 6th through 8th. I couldn't be more excited. My grandchildren said to me, Grandma, you are going to be famous. You must already be famous now. I don't even think you're going to be. That was the 8-year-old. And you think about that kind of feeling, launching the book, going into a summit, December 9th, 10th, and 11th. I want to say to your audience, can you imagine 3 days of Les Brown? Can you imagine 3 days of listening to him every single day, experiencing these 30 plus authors that will be here, some live, some recorded, but all being with the incomparable Be Ready, JB Owen, because you picked up the phone and said, hello, you just did this. But here we're going to have some noted people in this summit, and you've got an opportunity to get it for free. You've got an opportunity to go ahead and experience, I think it's over $20,000. Yes, and this is an ad, but $20,000 of free stuff from these authors, these experts. What will that do to your life to be ready in 2022? What will it do to be able to buy a ticket and a VIP pass so that you can get the book included? I would just say, be there, be ready.
That was a very ready moment. That was a ready moment. I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you. Once this is all done and I have it posted up, I'm going to add the links in anyway, because I really support what you're doing, and I want the links on there for, I think my viewers and any new viewers are going to want to be involved in that. I was almost looking for a link myself there.
Thank you so much. I would love to just answer your question too, Jody. That was fantastic. And thank you. Summit, book, mentoring, all of that stuff. It's so fantastic. But I do feel compelled to share that we have done some books that are just men only. And there are many men who have written in Ignite books. And I know you were asking about men, and you yourself, I'm sure you have a story, and it's not always so easy for people to be vulnerable and for men to be vulnerable. And I just want to share that one of our men's book, and a lot of the stories in this book that the men wrote, are really, really profound, because men don't always have a platform to share authentically and vulnerably. Men are so expected to show up and to be stoic and to be strong and to show no vulnerability. And I think in the age of the feminine really stepping into, and I call it the conscious male, the evolved male, the male who is really embracing their emotional side, their vulnerability, that is so powerful. That is so yummy. That is so sexy. That is so bringing us together in so many ways, because that veneer is brought down and that veneer is no longer there. And so I just want to share with you that vulnerability is a new superpower. It is really, because it allows us to not have to work so hard to keep the skeletons in the closet. It allows us to just really be who we are. I'm who I am. You're going to like it or not. You're going to like the pink hair or not. You're going to like the idea or not. But that's okay, because I don't have to work at being anything other than who I am. And I think that is a gift that we all get to give each other. I think Jody has shown it in her story, and all of the other authors, unless he shows it to us every day. And obviously you, Jamie, are doing it with your audience. And so that is the gift. That is the gift I think we all can give each other, is to be vulnerably authentic in who we are. And the world would be such a more enjoyable place.
Absolutely. And I want to point out something to anybody watching this. I speak a lot about, and it's in my coaching life, I speak a lot about writing stuff down, because speaking, you can turn up as anyone. You can open your mouth, you can be loud, you can be quiet, you can control a room with your voice. But reading and writing are very personal things. So when you pick up that book and you're reading someone's story, no one else has to be there. No one else has to actually know what you're reading, what you're being emotional about. And it's the same with your writing. If you're writing something, you can write it anonymously. You can write it to yourself in a diary, in a journal, or in one of these books like JB, publishes. And it's a fantastic space. So if you've never picked up a book before, this would probably be a great first book. But in any aspect, reading and writing is an important part of life. And I think it's such a personal thing. You can be vulnerable in your reading. You can be vulnerable in your writing. And whatever comes out your mouth, then you can be different. And I think it's really important what you're doing and with these books and with these authors. And you have male authors already in these books. So it's great for males to get in touch with that vulnerability and realize it is such a power.
And let's talk practical for 1 minute, because I'm the consummate business person. Is inside of the book at the end of every person's chapter, I've asked the authors all to write action steps. So you can't get anything done without taking action. And as you know, we can talk about loving humanity and helping everyone and all of that, but you've got to take action. And so at the end of every Ignite story is a list of action steps that the authors took. That was that one consistent thing that they did that helped really move the needle in their life. And I think that makes the stories even that much more, because you read the story, you're like, that's really powerful. And then you get to read, what did the author do? What are the things that they recommend? What was the continuous, thing that they did that helped move them forward? Because actions speak louder than words, obviously. And to get that success, to be successful in business, to be successful in anything, you've got to take action. And so we infuse all the stories with action steps.
And you are both very, very successful people. And I've even read an article of yourself, JB, in Forbes magazine. And I know this book is going to be such a great success around the world. Yeah, let's take a moment for that, because it's such huge. And I know this book's going to be a great success. From what I've heard from you both, it's powerful. It's already touching me and I haven't even opened it yet. So I know it's going to be very powerful. And I know there's a lot coming from that. So we speak about the business side and how important it is to thrive and ignite people's stories. But you talked about the School of Hope. These are people, as in Cambodia, you're going to open a school with the profits made from the book. Let's really talk about that, because that to me is mind-blowing in itself. It shows the impact of writing. It shows the impact of reading, of storytelling, of Mr. Les Brown, of women like Jodie, of women like JB. Tell me how that came about and what the story is behind it and how we're going to move forward with that.
Well, thank you. So let's get personal. So I was really, really successful with another business that I had, making millions of dollars, flying around, being in the limo, blah, 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 blah. But the truth is, I was the unhappiest I've ever been. I was sleeping in the guest room for almost 2 years. My husband and I were completely not getting along. The nanny was raising my kids. I was going to Asia for 21 days at a time, not even seeing my kids. I was super unhealthy. I was collapsing. I was having panic attacks. In fact, the doctor even told me I had a virus in my brain. But guess what? I was making lots of money and I was really successful, and nobody knew how unhappy I was. And one day I had an Ignite moment. I came home. My daughter was sleeping in the middle of the night. In fact, I'd been gone for 20 days. I came in the house. Nobody picked me up at the airport. I walked into my front door and I could hear the kids laughing with the kids. I could hear the kids laughing with the nanny in the kitchen. And I got really jealous. I got jealous that my nanny was having so much fun with my kids. So I went upstairs without even saying hello. And I went into the guest room and I went to bed. Now think about it. A mom with 2 small kids, 3 and 5, gone for 3 weeks, doesn't even take the time to see her children, because emotionally I was so broken. I went to bed that night and my 3-year-old woke up in the middle of the night and started calling the nanny's name. And I realized, like, what am I doing? What am I successful for? My daughter isn't even calling her mother in a moment of need. And so that really set me on a chain reaction of doing things differently. I left my marriage 3 weeks later. I ended my business. I closed my doors, had a multi-million-dollar business that I just shut the doors down, took my kids in my van and drove away. And it was a big, difficult moment for me. But what it made me realize to get me here today is that everything I do needs to happen for the success of others, not just myself, because that business was very successful because I was being successful instead of the people around me were successful, happy, content, and I was doing something bigger. And so where I'm really at right now in my life is, how do I build businesses that create legacy? And how do we build something that helps people for the future? Now I have 2 stepkids. My kids are teenagers now. And the truth is, like, what's their legacy? What's the world going to look like now, even with everything that's happening with the pandemic? And so the school came about because I asked myself the question, yes, we can make books, and yes, we can tell stories, and yes, we can sell books, but how can we help the people who don't even know they need help? How do we help the people who don't even know what's possible for them? And so I connected with an organization called Classroom of Hope. Please look it up. They're phenomenal. They build schools around the world for children who are living in dirt shacks, doing school, like, in fields, where those kids have an opportunity. And we all know that just one person with one great idea, with one desire to make a difference on the planet can make a difference. And I would like to believe that if I can create a school that will just make one child who can go on to do something that will impact humanity in a positive way, like find a solution to water, pollution, or go on to be a political leader, or have the ability to be an inspirational thought leader like Les Brown. Look at Mamie Brown, who took Les Brown and adopted him and as a twin with his brother. Like, there are people out there that are just waiting to make an impact on the planet, and they just need the education, the school, the foundation to do it. And so that's how this school came to be. And I'm committed to building more than just one school, and all the profits of our online sales go towards the school. And all of the authors magnanimously have agreed to do the same thing. And so thank you to Jody, because instead of authors saying like, I want royalties from the book, they're saying, let's build this school. And that to me feels so powerful. Les Brown, the same. He didn't say, I want any money from this book. He said, let's build the school. And so that brings people together. And I hope that it's going to really, really make an impact. And I want to say this, School of Hope, they build a school and then they buy bicycles for the kids, give them uniforms and school supplies. And when you see the faces on those kids with new bikes and new school supplies and a new school, like, that is priceless, absolutely priceless. And so that's what motivates me now. That's what gets me excited and gets me out of bed every day. And I want to do more and more books. We're doing another book coming up with Ryan Serhant, a real estate book. We're doing another book about wisdom. Les Brown and I are, let's do another book. Some things are percolating, because we know that the books are going to help with the school, and they help with the people who are reading them, your readers and your viewers. And so thank you for asking me that question, because I really get passionate about sharing that vulnerable side of me.
And now I'm not even sure if I should have asked it, because I'm doing this emotional dance inside. Some parts of the story, I'm smiling so hard, I'm so happy, and then I'm sad when I think about it. It's a great thing you're doing, and it's fantastic. Really, really powerful. Really powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it'll be well received.
And may I just say in closing, because Jody, you deserve to speak, but I am very blessed to have been written in Forbes, and they did talk about being heart-centered. And so one of the things that's so important to me, and I want to say it to your viewers, like, your story matters. Your story is your business. The story of where you came from and the hardships that you went through and the obstacles that you overcame, that is the foundation of your business. And if you want to grow a business and be, global, galactic, move the needle on humanity, you've got to infuse the you in it. And your story is a part of that. So never be afraid to use your story as part of the fuel that moves you forward. And building a business on your story around a book is super, super powerful. We can see it with many of our authors. And I just want your readers to know, like, your story matters. It really, really does.
Amazing. And Jody, I have to thank you as well, because you're part of this book. You're part of this school being built, by default, by telling your story. So how does that make you feel, knowing that you're going to change lives? You already are, but you're going to change lives, especially to people that you may have never, had the chance to meet, or would have had the chance to meet you or know you. And I think that in itself is really powerful,
Oh, absolutely. And I am so in alignment with JB, and I'm so aligned with this mission. For the last, 18 years since I was done being a single mom, raising my sons, I've gone into philanthropy. And with people that are my clients, they come in, any of the supplements that are purchased, the proceeds of that profit portion goes to human trafficking. I just think that there are so many things that we can help with. And children, coming back to our School of Hope, children are, as Les Brown says, 40% of our population and 100% of our future. And if that's the case, then think about this school. 6 days, y'all, 6 days. And it's built out of recyclable plastic. So I said, not only is it earthquake proof, but if they get a tsunami, maybe they can just float away on the raft. I mean, it just works. It makes sense because we're making it work. And the School of Hope, knowing that my main mission and my action step, as JB knows in the book, is the acrostic for hope. And if we can have hope with the School of Hope for these children, because we all want something in our lives that will outlive us. This is what Les Brown is doing. This is what JB Owen is doing. This is what this platform is allowing me to do at 67. Although I do tell Mr. Les Brown, he and I can just be 13 together because we've got a long time to go. But this is what I want to leave with your viewership. This is what hope means to me, to go down in and heal yourself. Just like my mother said, Jody, the doctors don't only know what they see. They don't know who you are. So go down in for your healing. That's vulnerable, Jamie. And then to go up an opportunity to your true north, because that will give you direction. And then come in with positivity to be and live the law of attraction. Then you can go out and empower yourself, your circle of influence, and then the world. It begins with me and it goes to you. Together, we can give not only the school of hope, but we can give this hope just one author, one page at a time. Thank you, Jamie.
And that's absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love that. And I'm going to make sure this book gets into the hands of many and any everywhere. Even just for that alone, let alone the stories and the impact it's going to have on the individual's lives, the readers, the authors it's already touched. But for this school, this is so important and it's a wonderful thing you're doing. And I know you've spent a lot of time with Les Brown, and if you spent time with Les Brown, I know he would have made you find your original quotes. Mine's is, in life, you're not responsible for the whole thing, just your part in it. And you are playing a fantastic part right now. And I would love to know your quotes because I know you've got one in the bank.
Yeah, well, mine is, your past does not define you. Instead, it refines you. And I've been saying that quite a bit. I came up with that quote while in a coaching session with Les and I. And Les has been repeating my quote, and I hear him saying it. And I'm like, Les, that's my quote. But he was there with me when it was born. So I do say that your past does not define you. Instead, it refines you.
Beautiful, JB.
I know you have one for me.
JB, you just make my soul sing. Doesn't she, Jamie?
Absolutely.
Just
absolutely.
Does. What a triple J moment this is. But my quote is, life is like a milkshake. Choose your ingredients wisely. This quote has now come into being a health coach and nutritionist, into my own podcast. It is now, people are saying, because if life is like a milkshake, choose your ingredients wisely. When you do, your life will taste oh so sweet. And I want to end with my favorite Les Brown quote, Jamie, if I can. No, it is you that can do what you want to do. No one else. Decide what you want and go after it as if your life depends on it. Why? Because it does.
Mm-hmm.
And on that, I think we should end on that. That was impactful. That was powerful. I absolutely love what you have done here. I think it's incredible. You're going to touch the lives of many, many more than you already have with this. And I'm so glad that I even had the opportunity to have you both on the show. It's been powerful for me. There's a lot I'm going to take. I'm excited for the book to come out now. I'm excited for what's coming next. And yeah, I mean, you've ignited me. It's almost midnight here in the UK when I'm filming this. So I have to think to myself, how can I wind down now and get myself to sleep? It's going to be a hard one. You've gave me so much to think about, and the two of you are absolute powerhouses.
Well, I would just like to, I love giving gifts. Gifts is my love language. So I do have a signature hard copy of our book that we made special edition. So I'd love to offer a copy to you or to one of your viewers if you would like to have them write their Ignite moment or do a contest. But I would like to give you something and say thank you for having us, because it is late for you. And you didn't know us before you interviewed us. And so you took a leap of faith and you just trusted the universe that this was the right and perfect thing. And so we want to honor you. And I do want to share with your listeners, if they go to mentorwithles.com, it's a little secret link that we've made for your viewers where they can actually download the book and then enter to win one-on-one coaching with Les. So every book downloaded buys a brick for the school, and then they can upload their receipt and they can enter to win one-on-one coaching with Les and myself. So that's pretty special, and we'll make that available to your viewers. And I just want to thank you again for the work that you're doing and the people that you are touching and the way that you are inspiring and the uplifting that you are doing, because the more of us that can come together and create possibilities and inspiration for others, we are going to move the needle on humanity. We are going to ignite one another. And so I just honor you, and I just want to acknowledge you and say thank you for letting us be here tonight.
You're going to get me emotional. Thank you very much, Stevie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It means a lot. It means a lot.
And a little bit of chamomile tea will work really well tonight.
I'm going to have to try something, girls. I'm going to have to try something.
Blessings to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been absolutely great having you on. So thank you so much. And yeah, I look forward to seeing everything that comes from you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Take care.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.